Okay guys, so I just wanted to do a quick video on bead ratio. So it's one of the main parts of learning acrylic. I would say probably the most important part. If you can't pick a bead up and you don't get your ratio right, you're not going to be able to apply acrylic, okay? So I'm using a size 10. I mean, it is a larger size 10, quite a large size 10 to be fair. I like, well, it depends what mood I'm in to be fair. Sometimes I'll use a really big brush, sometimes I'll go in with a tiny brush. You can pick the same size bead up with any brush depending on how you do it basically. So don't feel that you need a massive brush to pick up a massive bead. Obviously it would help, for example, if you wanted to go and doing a one bead method, but don't feel under pressure to do what other people are doing neither out there, okay? So bead ratio, like I say, it is the most important thing. Some people ask me, why can't I get on with acrylic? I just don't like it. Um, I prefer gel, it's easier. Yeah, it's going to be easier if you don't put the practice in. Putting the practice in means that you'll be able to apply acrylic like a pro. But again, it all boils down to bead ratio. Don't even attempt to apply it on a nail until you've cracked your bead ratio. You need to be able to pick a bead up, place it down, pick a bead up, place it down, pick a bead up, place it down without it getting clogged in your brush. Okay, that's the purpose of this exercise. So when I'm going in to use my brush, I'm always going to burp it, make sure there's no air bubbles in the brush and make sure it's nice and clean. Doing that, I can feel the brush. I can feel if there's any acrylic stuck in the brush. If there is, it's a no-go. You need to clean it. It will not apply acrylic well if you have it stuck in the brush. Okay, so burp the brush. I'm going to take off some of the monomer on the side. Now, I don't know if you can see, but it's still holding quite a lot of monomer in that brush. I'm then going to try and pick a bead up by patting down onto the acrylic, like tap, tap, tap. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, you can almost feel how many times you need to do it. Three is probably a magic number, but sometimes you need to tap it more, sometimes less. Depends on the weather, depends on the powder, depends on how much monomer you did have in the brush. There's so many variables to be fair. Now, did you notice that acrylic change almost from a speckled orange peel to a smooth bead? That's what you're waiting for. When that happens, you'll be able to put your bead down like so. Okay, I'll show you what I mean up close. So I'm just going to take some monomer out. Tap, tap, tap. And then you can see there's powder showing. We're not ready to use that bead while that powder's there. Okay, you just need to literally give it a second. And there you can see it just turning, it goes shiny, nice and smooth. It's ready to place down then, she says. Okay, now I'll show you what I mean. If I go and then try to place it down, I'm going to leave it in my brush. That's why you can't just place it down quickly. You need to just give it a second to polymerize. Okay, so going back to bead ratio, you need to make sure you can do a large, a medium, and a small bead. If you master those three beads, then you're not going to have any problems doing acrylic nails at all. Okay, all depends on, like I say, the amount of monomer you have in your brush. Also, what angle you hold your brush at when you're picking your bead up. So if I hold my brush quite flat and have quite a lot of monomer in the bristles, it's going to enable me to pick a large bead up. If I want a smaller bead, I can use less monomer in the bristles and tilt it slightly. And if I want a cuticle bead or a really tiny bead, if I go in like that with minimal monomer, then it'll mean I can pick a tiny bead up without it running everywhere. I'll show you what I mean. So going in for a large bead, take some monomer off. I like to turn the brush over. I don't know why, I just find it easier. Right, so a few taps, and that is quite a large bead. Give it a second, and then it should be quite pliable for you to do whatever you want to do with that bead. Okay, always clean your brush. So take a little bit more monomer off. I'm going to go in at a bit of an angle. So already you can see it's picked up a smaller bead. Okay, clean your brush, take off more monomer, turn your brush around, and I'm going to go in quite upright, literally gently tapping it, and it means I can pick up the tiniest bit of acrylic. which is perfect if you need a tiny, tiny bit on acrylic, on a cuticle. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I mean. Again, starting with a large bead. So going in with my brush, giving it a burp, take off some of the monomer, turn your brush around, and going in quite flat. I mean, not so flat that you're dragging the whole brush through the powder, but flat so that you're using the barrel of the brush. Pick up a bead, let it do its thing, and then I can just place it down like so. And it's not leaving anything on my brush. Okay. Again, I'm going to take a little bit more monomer out. Helps if you have your powder flat. Smaller bead. Let it do its thing. I can put it down like so. And obviously you can imagine if that was on a nail, you can then do whatever you want with it basically. So tiny bead, I'm going to take off most of the monomer out of the brush. And I'm going to go in quite upright because I really don't want to pick up a lot of acrylic. That enables me to pick up the tiniest bead like that. Okay. And place that down. And again, nothing's left on the brush. So that's exactly what I mean by you need to get your bead ratio right. Now, they're not perfect round beads. That doesn't necessarily matter. What you're looking for is a bead of acrylic that is going to come clean off your brush and that you're going to be able to place down and be able to move about, which is what we've done there. The perfect bead will come with time. Okay. So, quickly show you again. I'm going in for a large bead. And it's all about having control of the brush and, learning what your acrylic does. You can almost feel it. Also, if you're using a new system or a different powder before using it on a client, just have a quick play. Just go back to basics with the bead ratio because it could work differently to what you're used to working with. For example, I've got clear here. So I'll show you how clear might work. Clear would obviously be slightly runnier, for example. There's not as much pigment in it, but it's also the easiest colour to use, like so. So even if it means going to basics with your clear and really practicing, don't practice with a white acrylic powder to begin with. They are the hardest powders to use. They're so pigmented. Some of them can be quite chalky. There's nothing wrong with that. It's completely normal, but it would terrify you if you went in with that one first. Practice with your white, your cores, and then definitely have a practice with practice with your clear, your cores, and then definitely have a play and practice with your white because obviously that's one that you'll also need to master. But if you do manage to practice this and master your bead ratio, you should be able to pick up a nice bead of acrylic and be able to apply it like this. Also, sometimes you might feel that I've picked my brush up, I've picked my bead up, and it still feels a little bit wet. There's no harm in draining the back of your brush. Always clean your brush. No harm in draining the back of the brush. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go like that and pick up quite a large bead, I think, oh no, it feels a bit wet, I'm going to run it. It's going to run everywhere. Just quickly drain the back of your brush like that. Just tap it on the tea towel and then apply it. Like so. Also, I just want to say there's no right and wrong way of applying acrylic. It doesn't matter if you do it in 1 bead, 2 beads, 3 beads, 25 beads. If you get the desired outcome that you're after, then that's what's important. Your actual technique will come with time. And just pick up some swatch sticks. Mess about. Can you see I need a tiny, tiny bit of acrylic on the end of that tip there? So what I'm going to do is go in with the tiniest bit. I'm going to drain the brush a little bit actually. And just pop it on there. Tap it in. and I can just literally work it back up. Another saying when it comes to acrylic as well is everything can be fixed with a file. But my favourite saying is apply like you don't have a file. Okay, the easier and smoothest you get your acrylic application, the less work you're going to have to do afterwards. Like I say, everything can be fixed with a file. If you find you've applied it too bulky or just not very neatly, you can fix it with a file. Don't panic. But with time, you want to be applying like you don't have one, just to make sure there's minimal filing for yourself. Okay, so that is why it's important to get your bead ratio right. I'll show you on a swatch stick why it's important. What would happen if I didn't have my bead ratio? So for example, if I went in, loads of monomer, picked up a massive bead, popped it on there, tried to work it, still being able to work it, but it's just going to run. Okay. Same the other way. If I went in with a bead that was literally really too dry, which I'll show you, you're not going to be able to move it. You're not going to be able to work with it at all. So I'll try and pick that up. So can you see how, although I'm still able to work with it because I do have monomer in my brush, but it's almost not as pliable, which is why it's important just to get that ratio just right. Okay. Any questions? Let us know in the comments, and I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, guys.